This is a tutorial on formatting a paper correctly following MLA formatting guidelines. Before we get started, I want to note that your professor should tell you which formatting style you need to be using, and unless he or she gives you something specific, MLA is always a safe bet. However, when you move out of the humanities and into something more science-based or math-based, you'll be using different kinds of citation style. So make sure that you check and know that this is what you need to be using. But for the purposes of this course, MLA formatting is where we need to go. We're going to cover quite a bit in this tutorial. If you want a quick reference, you can look at the tags at the bottom of this video. First, I want to note that we don't need a title page. Unless your professor specifically asks for one, you can save yourself that formatting headache. It's not required by MLA anymore, so you can just kind of skip that unless that's specifically requested. The first thing that I want to address is your margins, and you can change your margins on a file without highlighting anything, without telling it specifically what you want, which margins you want to change, because it'll change the entire document. So if you click up here at the top on page layout, then click on margins. In this version of Word, you can just click on normal, and it'll change all of the margins to 1 inch for you. But in case I've got people who have an older version of Word or a newer version of Word, I'm going to go down here to click on custom margins. You can change these one of two ways. Since you want these to be 1 inch on all sides, you can either click this down arrow until that's set to 1 inch, or you can just type in what you want your margin to be. Feel free to click on default here. That will change the default settings for this program. If you're uncomfortable doing that, you certainly don't have to. Just click OK, and you see how the margins have changed here. The next thing I want to address is how to insert page numbers. You go up to the top here and click on Insert, and then click on Page Number. You can choose to put them at the top of the page on the right-hand margin. That's where MLA wants to see them. If you just type in 1 on the first page, that's going to show up on every page in the document. Whatever's in the header is going to repeat on every single page. That's why we insert page numbers this way. According to MLA, you should also have your last name at the top of the page with the page number. And it's okay to just type that in, because now you see when we get on to page 2, this still says Brian, comma 2, and then on page 3, Brian, comma 3. Next thing that we need to be concerned about is the fact that we need to change the font size and style here. So the best way to go about doing this is just select everything, and I've done that on my PC by clicking Control A at the same time. If you go up here, we're still on the home page, so if you go up here and click on this down arrow, you can choose from all of the fonts that Microsoft Word makes available. To stay in accordance with MLA style, you want to click on Times New Roman, and then you want to make sure that you change that 11 to a 12-point font. Now these changes are only going to apply to whatever you highlight, so make sure that you have highlighted everything on the document before you make those changes. Now we need to look at adding the MLA student header, and I want to caution you against putting it up here in the header of the document, because again, anything that you put in that header is going to repeat on every single page. So instead, start at the very top line in the body of the essay, and you want to put everything on the left margin. That's called left justified. And then you need to insert your name, your professor's name, the course that you're in, and then the due date. Okay. That's going to be double spaced. We're going to get to double spacing here in a second. Then you need to format your title. Note here that there is no space between my student header and the title that I'm working with. There should also not be a space between the title and the actual essay. Make sure that your title, your student header, that nothing on this is bolded. Everything should be regular font. Now, to change the spacing on your document, you need to select all again and go up here and click on Paragraph. You'll note that Word defaults now to having this 10-point space between each paragraph, and it defaults to a multiple 1.1 line spacing. So there's one of two ways that you can change this. You can just take this down to 0 by clicking on the arrows here, or you can highlight it and just type in what you want to see. Then you want to change your spacing to double. That is the default for MLA formatting style. So when you do that, you'll see a slight difference here. But you'll note that you don't have spaces between your paragraphs, which is something that MLA is very concerned with. Now let's scroll down a little bit to the works cited entry. You'll note here that the words works cited are on the 4th page of the essay, and they need to be on their own page with the works cited entry. So you can do this one of two ways again. You can just press enter until your works cited page ends up on its own page, or you can go to insert, page break. You know, make sure that your cursor is right before the words works cited, and insert a page break, and that's just going to take it down to the next page. The words works cited do not need to be bolded, they don't need to be underlined or italicized, you don't need this colon afterwards, but you should center those in the middle of the page. Since you only have one entry here, this actually needs to say work cited instead of works cited, because works obviously is plural. And in order to format this citation correctly, all of the information here is correct, but you need to add a hanging indent. So I'm going to ask that you highlight the entire entry, and then go up to paragraph, and then under indentation you'll see an option for special. Here's where you'll click on hanging, and that's going to go to a 1/2 inch hanging indent automatically. That's exactly what you want. Just click OK, and you'll see the change that it makes. Alright, if you guys have any questions about any of this, please don't hesitate to contact me. Otherwise, I hope that this tutorial has helped.